Well, we got a hot subject for you.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to a pastor in the States talking about, there's a lot of people talking about Sabbath now, Sabbath rest. He says some really good books out.
Yeah.
He says the problem that he's having is that the people in his church that love reading the books about Sabbath rest are the ones that aren't doing anything.
Yeah. The guys that have 5 Sabbath days a week are the
Right.
guys that are like, I got this down.
But the guys who really need it are too
Yeah.
busy to read the book.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
true. If you're too busy to read one book, you are too busy.
Well, I got so many books though that are lined up,
Yeah.
that I want to read. It's just hard to get to the first thing in your mind, right? But let's just start with this. When you're in the ministry with your family, don't expect you to be able to measure the way you lead your family, or the systems or whatever, the levels at which you lead your family, to be the same as people who aren't in the ministry. You're fooling yourself, right? Because the fact is that when you're in the ministry, if your spouse isn't in the ministry with you, you got a tough row to hoe. It's tough to do that, right? Unless there's a real good understanding of being able to minister to each other, get to a point where you've got that working. But normally, we see, I think, pretty well all of our married couples are in ministry together, right? Which is really good. And then it comes down to the kids. So what about the kids? Your kids are being watched more than other kids are. There's a higher standard that they're called to. And so, and I've never been shy about that and told my kids, no, you're like everybody else, because you're not. There is a higher standard. But the thing is, it's the way we approach it. If our kids know that there's a higher standard and it's a good thing,
Yeah.
rather than there's a higher standard and it's the curse you're living under, right? That's two different things.
Yeah.
And so as parents, we want to minister to our spouses and our kids in the idea that there is a higher standard, and God's put a grace on us for this, that we're called to something special, something peculiar, and we are the head and not the tail. We're above and not beneath. That there's a place where we walk and where we live that is the dream of a lot of people that may never get there. But for us, we do understand that ministry has a huge, it's a huge calling, has huge requirements,
The weight. Yeah.
huge pressures, huge rewards. It has all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so we need to talk about how to stay fresh and alive in those situations.
Yeah, and just because the pressure is on, like you said, it doesn't mean it's a bad pressure. It's actually a privilege that we can work together.
Yeah.
There's a lot of couples that they have different careers, they're doing their different things, and their home life, like their whatever hours that they get per week at home is it. But here it's like you really get to share what God is doing, both the blessings and the miracles and all that stuff, the vision casting, like where we're going as a family, and you get to share the burdens together. So in some ways, like, I appreciate having had worked a separate job than Matthew, even though we were in ministry, we were doing two different things. I appreciate the fact that when I come home or when, he's talking about something, I know exactly what he's talking about. It's not like I'm just listening to your thing over there and then you listen to my thing over here. But
Right.
it's actually, we really understand each other. So it is a benefit and a blessing.
Sure it is.
But the key is a lot of times we don't know how to not get overwhelmed by the pressure of ministry and just the momentum of ministry that happens. And so there can be times or seasons where you feel resentful, right, of the amount of time that it's taking or the pressure that it's putting on you, or sometimes even the pull
Right.
that it has on relationships and families. And so we want to try to fix those things sometimes when it's at a point where it's like, okay, now it's an obvious problem. My kids won't talk to me or something like that, right? And then it's almost like you have to, how do I shut down ministry then? How do I create space for my family? How do I, But what we would love to do is encourage us that we don't actually have to get to that point. And if you're at that point, it's not because there needs to be a total major shift and realignment. It's that we're just missing the daily principles and practices that we should be walking in anyways, right? So one of the main principles that every one of us knows, but a lot of us don't do very well, is a day of rest, a
Right.
Sabbath,
Yeah.
right? Do you and your family have a day of rest? And I feel like we talk about this quite often, but it's something that we see as an issue, you know? It's so hard to turn off my phone. It's so hard to find a complete day where I can take some time off. It's so hard. Yes, it is hard, but you have to figure out how to build that into your system. And just because it's hard isn't an excuse to
Right.
not do it, right?
And I think too that, first of all, for me, the difficult part is identifying what that is. I mean, you think about the last few months, you particularly, Becky, and most of us in the ministry have hosted so many people, and you've taken them on their day of rest. And that wasn't your day of rest.
Yes.
Yesterday, you guys were out of the island.
Yes.
You were the tour guide, and no doubt the interpreter, and and everything. And so that's not your day of rest, right? You need a rest from everybody else's day of rest, right? And they need a day of rest. I mean, that's great. They went home on the plane this morning, back to Canada, excited, and had this great experience, right? But to identify what it is, that it is our day of rest, and of course, for all of us, it's different, right? Some people like to go sit on a beach. Doesn't appeal to me. Some people like to go to another country just for fun. Doesn't appeal to me. But find out what the things are. But the thing is, it's not just you; it's your spouse too, right?
Your family, yeah.
Yeah, I took Mom to Chinatown a couple of weeks ago, and she just hated it.
She did not appreciate your attempt at romanticism.
We got a nice hotel room.
She sent me a picture of the hotel room and I said, "That's cute." And she wrote back, "Are you kidding me?" It's so cute.
And I'm like, but honey, look there's thousands of tourists here thinking this is the most amazing thing. She still didn't think it was amazing.
No, because you were in Chinatown shopping for car parts, Dad.
I know, eh?
That's the revelation. It's not her thing.
And then last week I took her to Cornsa One, right, to get car parts for an old car. She didn't like that either.
I think the theme is the car parts, Dad. You need to take her to a baking store or something like that.
Yeah, that's what we do. We go to the supermarket. So yesterday, she's like, goes by, grabs the truck key, and I said, "Honey, where are you going?" "Out." And I'm like, okay.
That's code for by myself.
That's code for, yes, by myself. And because I need to go out. And of course I got the tracker right. And within like 3 minutes, she's at the supermarket. That's her out. She loves going to the supermarket. And she comes back refreshed every time.
It's true.
She's like a little thing of sour cream or something. It's like she hunted and she found it and she won,
Yes.
And so you do have to figure out what it is that, I mean, for me, I love the jungle. I love, the Jeep. I love the motorbike rides. I love that kind of stuff. And most of it's stuff that my wife doesn't like.
Yeah.
And so
Got to figure out what you like to do together too. And I think just figuring out what it looks like. So like, for example, in this past season where I've been doing a lot of traveling with people, I don't have a full day of rest, but you have to have moments where you just take time away for yourself, right? There's certain times where I'm like, you guys go, I'm dropping you off and I'm just going to go sit here at a coffee shop and read my Bible. Or, you guys do the supper thing, I'm staying home tonight. Or you guys do the outreach, I'm not joining you for that,
Yeah.
So you have to have plans when the seasons
Sure.
are a little bit different too,
Yeah.
and just making sure that you're connecting. But the whole point is you got to have a plan. What are you doing for your Sabbath for this season that you're in? How are you going to make sure that you have rest? Because if you're not rested, you don't have the emotional capacity and the energy to be healthy
Right.
and there for your family. So that's one of the things, the Sabbath thing, right? The second thing is just building time for your relationships, because it's so hard to find private time for your family
Yeah.
if you haven't marked it in there, And I think sometimes it's kind of funny because there are some families that they'll have boundaries and it's almost like other people get annoyed. Like, how dare
Right.
you have a date night with your family and I'm not allowed to come over, or we can't have a meeting on that night or whatever. But we have to actually have grace for each other. So there's certain things, like here in Sriracha, we do a leadership training night on Monday night, which is awesome and it's amazing. I don't join it, not because I don't want to, I really want to, but it's at a time of night where I've already decided that I'm done work at that night, So other people are free, good on them. I am just not free. And it's nothing personal. It has nothing to do with anything except for that. I need that time in the evening because Matthew's at the gym. He comes home at 8 p.m. So our home time in the evening is 8 p.m. until bedtime.
Right.
So if I'm in a meeting for an hour or he's in a meeting for an hour, which sometimes he joins if I happen to fall asleep earlier. But, you just got to understand your boundaries and don't feel like you have to feel bad for having them. And then when other people have boundaries with you, have grace, right? There's a difference when somebody says, I'm not free during work hours. Then that's like a what,
Yeah, right.
But when it's outside of what's normally expected and it's over above, then you got to have grace. You got to have a little bit of, sensitivity to that. So as a family, figure out what works. And not every week is going to be free, but you got to be making time for at least some kind of family thing. And I love when we were kids, we did go out sometimes, but my favorite memory was, Friday night when you would just sit down and tell us all a story.
Right.
We didn't have a movie night, so we just had story night and you would tell stories about Nasty Jack. And, it was a lot of fun, but what it was just time together spent hanging out, So as long as we have those things built in, your personal time with the Lord is so important, making sure you actually have that built in. It's not a quick read in the morning before you get up, quick read at night before you go to bed. Have some time built in so that your relationship with God is healthy. Because when you have those principles in place, then you do a lot better, right? Principles about what you eat, how healthy is your food. It makes a difference. Your sleep, all of these things. And we want it to be more, supernatural or spiritual, but we're physical beings with limited physical ability. And when we don't build those systems in, and then we wonder why is our family suffering? Why are our relationships suffering? Why is the ministry suffering as a result? That's why.
Yeah. So it's very important to stay strong as well. And it's a good thing you mentioned that, Becky, about being healthy and strong. You've got to get your exercise. You've got to eat healthy. And what happens is when busyness piles on top of busyness on your life, all of those things depreciate into eating bad food, eating junk food, eating on the run, and those things just compound, right? Now I'm not getting any exercise, now I'm not getting enough sleep. Those things compound until you're just burned out, right? And so it is really important to take a measurement of where you're at and how things are going, and then make some adjustments. It's a lot of fun. It's good because we're looking forward to a great future.
Yeah. So the easy questions are, do I have enough time to sleep? Do I have enough time to connect? Do I have enough time for my relationship with God? Do I have enough time for health? If the answer is no, then you need to begin to build those things into your system so that you are having health in your relationships, health in your family, health in your ministry, and we don't have to make some decisions because things are kind of falling apart, And I think it's good too, as leaders, figure out, there should be at least once or twice a year where you're taking a break. In Thailand, we've got Songkran coming up, and then we've got the New Year's holiday that we can have a break. And without fail, I find a way to get out of town because if I'm in town, I'm going to do all of the other jobs that, I've been waiting or whatever.
Right.
So you just got to figure out when you do have some space and just don't feel bad about taking it, Don't feel bad about if people offer you, you can come to my place, you can come hang out and rest, and I'll leave you the keys and I'll take off. Take advantage of any opportunities that people give you to bless you, to give you, just go for it and enjoy it.
Amen. So, strong and healthy, here we go into the future, unstoppable, because we've got all of our priorities set right and we're not missing anything important.
Amen.